honestly, get the employment
Yeah, I
over the
know. Well,
contract.
and the shoe plus all the royalties that come with that. Wonder if anyone here will be able to guess who we're talking about right now.
I mean, the question I have is what separates or what makes the difference between someone who gets to be a legacy athlete on one of these teams versus, terminated?
Oh, I know what it is. It's health insurance.
Yeah, that's a big one.
I
No,
think
but
if you have
how
health
do they get to
insurance,
stay on? What case do they make to get to be legacy?
So I think that it has to do with how much you've built your brand and how much you have contributed to the trail running community as a whole. Like, I think that if you make yourself essentially like so a part of the brand conversation and like the view of the brand, like Brooks and Scott Jurek, like they're so intertwined. And I think some companies are much more open to that and kind of like have a pretty good pipeline to it. And I think other companies just like kind of don't. So I think it's like companies also making yourself super invaluable on not just like I run really fast.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about Carl Meltzer and like the Speed Goat. It's like, I wonder if Hoka ever envisioned that the Speed Goat would be like their most popular trail shoe. I wonder if Carl ever thought that, and like, nice. But then like they can't just change. It just can't like not be the Speed Goat. They can't change the name of it. And I'm sure Carl has something written in there where it's like you can't change the name of it, and it's like he gets to win for as long as the Speed Goat is a good shoe.
I'm not sure how to phrase this question, Britton. We're going off on a total tangent, but let's just go with it. How much of a difference does it make for these athletes to get a signature shoe if it's early in the life cycle of the company versus it's inserted in after the brand's been around for 15 years? You know, like if Courtney was to get a shoe, would that be way less successful just because Salomon's been this established, whereas that was like the second shoe in the Hoka rotation after the Mafate?
I know. I feel like the older companies, you just don't really see it too much. I mean, at least on the running side of things. Maybe because it's like we want the brand to outlast any athlete, but
yeah, because I will say I was on the Spring Energy team, and some of the energy gels were named after or named in collaboration with various athletes, and athletes move on, and then they might not want their name associated with that, and so I think it's a little dicey on both sides of like the athletes committing to kind of this legacy, but also like if things become misaligned and like people split, what do you do?
Then it gets super awkward. Like, and have we had? Yeah, I mean, I guess we've had. Courtney's a good example of like why I think Salomon should have leaned into more like signature Courtney stuff, more so than just a colorway on the S-Lab Genesis. They could have.
They did the clothing line.
They did the clothing line, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I feel like they could have leaned into that more. And I guess they, like you said, Alyssa, it's like you kind of then are committing to being a lifer with that brand, or else it gets super awkward. But it kind of seems like that's probably going to be the case with Courtney. Although now that I say that out loud, I also thought that was going to be the case with Killian and Salomon.
Alyssa, I didn't realize you were a Spring Energy athlete. That's, that would be an interesting "Where Are They Now" episode. Like all of the Spring Energy athletes, like what happened after the fall.
I can spill a little bit of something. I was about to become the team manager the night before it happened.
Oh my goodness.
So I was about to be deep in bed, which it was I was about to sign the paperwork of like being able to manage the team. They were just expanding and things were shifting, and then it kind of went sideways. Yeah.
Did it go sideways in the sense of like you like read other like external stuff about like these gels maybe don't have this stuff, and then you were like, oh, maybe I'm gonna hold off for another day? Or was it like something internally like, hey Alyssa, wait, we're not ready, we changed our mind?
No, not internally. It was just like oh, this came in on a Sunday and like I'll take a look at it again on Monday or something, and then everything happened on Monday. Yeah.
Oh wow.
So it was rough. Yeah. It was a different tangent. We're getting into it, but no,
This
that
is
was
good.
wild. Also, I don't even know if spring exists outside of the feed. Do they?
They do. I still see
Okay.
them. Like my local REI here still stocks them.
Salt Lake Running Company does too.
Yeah,
Oh,
Rogue
cool.
Valley Runner still stocks them. Like there's actually lots. They actually still exist in quite a few spots, and they get bought by lots of people who aren't like don't read too much on the internet.
Yeah, the road running scene was like, huh? I feel like a lot of the road runners did not know about it. I would see that on Instagram, and then the trail runners would be like, "Go look at this."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally.
Ugh, what a bummer.
Yeah, the taste was great. It was just
taste
the
so
ratio.
good.
They tasted too good. That was what it was.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Long Run Archives, and I'm here with friends, colleagues, Brett Hornig, Alyssa Clark. We have so much to cover. Let's dive right into it. First topic, Ben Demon says Hardrock is quote unquote cooked. This was not published on Instagram. It's kind of hard to find, but Ben has a Spotify only podcast. It's called Speed Demon Radio. It's a
name.
fantastic. It's a great name. And he typically uses the show to go over training, racing results. It's actually highly entertaining. He's a great talker. But he injected some editorializing on the recent Hardrock lottery results in his Christmas time episode. We'll link to it in the show notes if I remember. And basically, he publicly criticizes the Hardrock lottery on multiple fronts, and it all stems around just like errors they made during the live stream picking process, the whole debacle around Caleb saying that he didn't want to be a special consideration. Go ahead, Brett.
Why do they even pick people at all? That's what he also said, because he was like, they call themselves a run, not a race, but they do still put in like a couple really elite athletes. So they're like, why they always got like 1 foot in the door? How did the ball get dropped with Caleb's entry? Also, the whole time I listened to that Ben's podcast, I thought that the title, or like in the show notes, it said Hardrock is crooked, but it turns out it's cooked, which like kind of then listening to it, it made sense like the whole time too, because he was like, maybe this whole thing's just rigged anyways, like who are we to know? And I was like, yeah, you're right, maybe Hardrock's just a crooked race. But go on.
I mean, there's a couple more pieces. You know, he has been trying to get into this race like many athletes for the last 5 or 6 years. He's put into the lottery every single year. I think he has over time increasingly had advocates externally, internally advocating for him to get into the race. He was following the live stream. He was tuning in. I think he has stated on the record in other places that this is a race that he really desperately wants to be, and he wants to be like the next American winner here. Wanted to battle against
He's
Tom
French
again.
and American. This is amazing.
Yeah,
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he lives in France, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the quote he said,
the makings of
he's
someone who
all
would
the
win.
makings.
Yeah, I think the quote was, if this is a run, then why are you so focused on elites? Like, why do you have this whole special consideration thing and make a whole, marketing stunt out of it? If this is just like a community thing, a run, a classic kind of grassroots event, what is this whole special consideration thing? Why is it, opaque? Why is it not transparent? How do you arrive at your decisions to pick those fields each year? Oh, and then he criticized the media too. He said that we aren't hard enough on Hardrock.
Well, I mean, do we need to be hard enough on Hardrock? Do we care? I don't know. I think I can answer some of these questions. Like the special consideration picks. Like I kind of know how it works.
Well, for example, this year, then tell me how he arrived at the women's field that left out Blandine. How he arrived at.
Well, I don't know
Rachel
how that
Entrekin.
works.
I think he's talking about like the nitty gritty of like this person versus this person,
Oh.
who gets on the chopping block, who gets picked.
Yeah, that Well, it's because so they're not Dale's picks anymore. It's not just Dale like as the sole entity picking these people. Like there's a board, and they all kind of submit lists, and then they kind of take the lists and mesh them together into like, yeah, this looks pretty good. So maybe it's the problem of the board and not always seeing eye to eye on what the casual or serious fan sees and thinks should be in the race. I think my favorite point that Ben brought up is just like, how in the world did they mess up the Caleb thing? Like, unless there's stuff that we don't know, it sounds like Caleb told them, I'm putting into your lottery, but don't pick me this year. And then they picked him this year. Like, what do they think this is? Like the Goblet of Fire? They're like, you have no choice. He's like, yes, I do, actually. I'll be just fine.
What do you think, Alyssa?
I mean, so I think that you put this out there, but I was also talking with a friend about this. I would just absolutely love to see like a race series. Just like I'd love to see a golden ticket series to get into Hardrock. I completely understand that. Like, I think what's very hard in some ways to kind of navigate is that the US just has a lot of restrictions on numbers, and so it will not make it as competitive a field as a UTMB because they can't have that depth. And I do love that there are people who can do it that aren't necessarily like elites. Like there is a wide range to the field, but I think a golden ticket series would be so cool, and I think that it would increase the competition level, and I think it would just be at like a level of fairness that would erase this kind of like director's pick part that people get frustrated about. It's funny because like I'm kind of in the same boat of I would love to do Hardrock dream race, like would probably like it's up my alley. I love hard mountain races at altitude, but I've just kind of like assume it's never gonna happen, and if you assume it's never gonna happen, you just kind of like aw darn again. So but it is tough because it's like it's so high on bonuses. Like it is a really prestigious race to win, but it's so narrow of who gets to even access that. So that's always a little bit tough where you're just going, oh man, I don't even have the chance to like race for that because there's only 3-4 people that are going to get that opportunity. Part of me wishes it wasn't such a darn cool race. Like it is epic. Like it's so cool. And I think that's part of the problem. The amazing part of it is like, yeah, everyone wants to do that race. But I do think I would just love to see them explore other opportunities to get the fields more competitive and allow people the opportunity to have more than just a lottery to get into it.
Yeah, the financial aspect from these elites is really interesting because like you said, Hardrock is very high up on the tier list for pretty much every professional like trail ultra runner's contract, and that's pretty much at the mercy of like, well, I mean, it's like crazy long shot lottery odds or special consideration pick, which like it's interesting. Like, how much money has Ludo made in the last few years off of Hardrock?
Which I'm happy for him about. That's pretty sick. But
no,
yeah.
it's cool. But it's an interesting like rich get richer type race, and having a golden ticket race series would definitely help. Like just give anyone that shot to make that money on the Hardrock course. I guess like the only like if I were to play devil's advocate, there would be people who would be upset about whatever races get picked to be 100%. The golden ticket races. And then they'd be like, well, then this person's coming and running this race to get into Hardrock, and they'd be really good at that race, but not Hardrock. So now they're actually just wasting a space, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, well, you're right. Now I do actually like just the special consideration picks. Then the person goes in more fresh and like, I wish it could be a mixture of both. But then going back to what you said, like the overall field size is just so small. So then it's like, damn, now we're back to where we started.
This episode of the Single Track Podcast is brought to you by Precision Fuel and Hydration. One of the biggest nutritional shifts for me has been dialing in hourly carb, sodium, and fluid rates based on sweat rate, race conditions, goals. And what I really appreciate about Precision's role in this is that they don't push a one-size-fits-all product. Instead, they start with their fuel and hydration planner, which takes a few minutes to complete and gives you a clear, personalized plan for your next race or long effort. If you've ever wondered, am I underfueling, overhydrating? Why does this fall apart late? That planner is the best place to start. If you want to check it out, go to precisionhydration.com/planner, or just use the link in our show notes, and you can use the code SingleTrack for 15% off your first order as well. Thanks to Precision for supporting the show and for bringing some much needed clarity to ultra running nutrition. Do either of you agree with Ben in how he's sort of saying like Hardrock is being misleading in the way that they brand themselves as a run, not a race, when at least recently it seems like they're spending all of these picks on people who are making the racing component of it so thrilling?
I don't know. I don't think I really like agree or disagree with them. Like, I don't know, having just like been there and like worked the media side of things for a few years, like to me it almost like yes, I would love to see more people racing and like the depth of competition be higher than it is, but at the same time it almost actually feels competitive enough in a way, because so much of that course is just you versus the mountains, and maybe if you have a good day you do end up being the first one to complete the loop, but in many cases other competitors don't like dictate your race plan as much as at something like Western States.
I wanted to double check this, but it is called Western States Endurance Run.
Oh, see,
as
there you
well.
go.
Yeah,
also
so
just a run.
It's just a run. I
Yeah,
mean, I just feel like it was just the old school way of naming a race, and also probably when they were founded, it's always been a race. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like that's just a naming mechanism. So it's just semantics. And I feel like it's really interesting Ben like played on that, because I think it's, as a language lover, I think it's a really interesting point. But I do think if we are comparing other things, like, Western States Endurance Run.
Yeah, that's
kind
a
of
good
the
point.
same.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I've a note that I wrote down. Curious to hear either of your two thoughts on. Why would Dale pick the guy who lost to the other guy that Dale just picked? Like, I don't like. Yeah, Ben
rematch.
No, that I don't. No, give it. I want Tom to beat someone else. Like, the only rematch that I was really, really stoked for was Rocky and Apollo in the second Rocky. Like, but for when there's this few spots, like, you need to pick other people who are winning some of the big races. And there's a lot of people who are going to be screaming in your headphones like, well, Jimmy Elam's not winning the biggest races. But Jimmy's been destroying people by himself in a lot of Hardrock-esque kind of races. So I also see that as like a very good resume for why they might have success at Hardrock. I'm really curious to circle back on this whole topic after Hardrock this year, to play the what if game of like, what if Ben was in that race. But I also, I don't know, I can also see, and maybe this has happened in the past, but like, has there ever been a year where the Hardrock special consideration picks picked two people off the UTMB podium from the previous year? Because then that would make it look like there's a bit of a formula to get into Hardrock, and they probably don't want that to seem like the case either.
Here's the thing. Or here's one thing I should say. Hardrock has a podcast. I don't know how many races out
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Sorry, runs, not races. I don't know how many runs out there have podcasts, but Hardrock
A lot of running
does.
podcasts, let me tell
There
you.
are a lot. Hardrock has a podcast. If I remember again, I will put this in the show notes. I probably won't remember, but they have a podcast, and I think that this could be a great episode where, after the fact, each year, Dale and Dan Ryan and that whole team sit down behind the mics and they explain their process for that given year. They don't have to give away any formula or year-over-year trade secrets, but I think it would be valuable to the community if they dedicated an annual podcast to like what was going through their minds when they picked those men's and women's selections. I think that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to throw another wrinkle in this.
All right.
And I have no idea. So this year, a lot of countries put essentially like kind of bans on athletes from doing UTMB and world champs. Does it factor into picks at all of people doing Western States and Hardrock? Or should it?
Oh, like if you're like in Western States, maybe you shouldn't get picked for Hardrock or
yeah. I mean, clearly it can be done.
Yeah.
We've seen it happen by the great and almighty. But I think she's an exception in many ways.
She had
but I guess
third week.
Yes, and it was longer in between. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's like maybe should go into the consideration pool of like, hey, they're in a Western. Is it fair to put them in the position to have to pick or even to like have to throw one away? Because I mean, there's such polar opposite training races.
And if we're talking about Tara Dower, I feel like the people at the table were like, she's definitely doing both.
Oh, I'm sure she will. And like Tara's she happens to fit that, but she's not the only one that's been in that situation. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I mean, 13 days and also with like what the racing style and the level of racing is at, especially at Western States now. Like, you know, if you're winning the race, you're like probably dedicating from now until the end of June to try and win it. But if you want to win Hardrock, you kind of also have to do that too.
I love this thought experiment, Alyssa. Here's a question for you guys and the audience. In 2026, at all of the marquee races, how many of the winners of those races will have won those races at less than like 95%? You know?
It's such a good question.
Like if they weren't firing on all cylinders, or did they win this race and they weren't firing on all cylinders? Like how many people had essentially perfect days?
I would argue that this is a way too early performance of the year pick. If Tara, for example, is able to win Western States and then win Hardrock, I don't care what the time is, win Hardrock.
Oh, I don't care at all about the time.
In this climate, insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would go down as one of the greatest. It would be the greatest double in the history of doubles.
Yeah.
Wait, can we just remember that Courtney did one Western, one Hardrock, and one UTMB a few years ago?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah. Like
13 days. 13 days.
13 days. And then I mean, I would say I would recycle this statement with each passing year, because I believe that each passing year the sport just gets like exponentially better, or at least there's a wider pool of people who have the same capability.
Totally. Yeah. People are rising to the occasion of like winning these big races much more frequently.
I think we're seeing it. I feel like Katie's very dedicated to each race. I mean, gosh, Ruth devoted really her whole season to UTMB, but then other people get away with it. We're like, that didn't make. I mean, I am so impressed by Katarina Hartmuth, who did Hardrock, and she was injured, I think, right after Hardrock or something, and then third at UTMB.
She started losing her vision or something.
Yeah. Like, gosh, that was impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do love that we still see that sort of thing, and that it's not like it seems like the trend is leaning towards going all in on races, but then there's
exceptions.
There's still a few, yeah, like even like more than just exceptions. It's like there's a good number of people, so it's like, so we still know nothing, and I love that.
If you two had to pick, would you pick Hardrock or Western?
Oh man, I don't know if I'd survive Hardrock, but like to personally do.
Yeah.
At this point, I would have to give Hardrock a go. Like I would love to race Western States again, but I think I kind of know about where my ability is on that course, and like I'm definitely worse at something like Hardrock, and just because of that, it's like it would be pure, like I know I can finish Western States. I don't know if I can finish Hardrock. So that's, and I don't know if I've ever really done a race like that before.
I'm going to be lame. I'm going to say, and yeah, I don't think either of these events call to me. I feel fortunate. I feel fortunate that they are media spectacles and we get to cover them. I think if I had to choose a race in this calendar, I'm picking, or in this window of time, I'm picking High Lonesome in mid-June, or mid-July, I should say, / like Crazy Mountain. Those two have always called to me. And then on the front side, this is going to be totally random, but the original Tahoe 200.
Oh, that was the circumnav. That was sick.
Yeah. That's a pretty sick loop.
And I've always dreamed of like that route coming back, and like Brett, us doing, like, I could do the Tahoe 200 and then we hop into like a Broken Arrow Western States hybrid coverage, and then I don't know, do like a soft rock and then cover Hardrock, and just, that'd be.
Oh, that would be pretty sweet. So, why did the Tahoe 200 course change?
Fires,
snow. Yeah,
just like too difficult
I think it's just gotten rerouted a bunch. Like Kodiak's been rerouted too because of fires, and I think just like the stability of the trails and rehab of the area. Yeah, California is just a delicate little flower.
Yeah.
Before we move on, thanks to Ben for being a high profile athlete that's outspoken on something like this. No one was spared. He criticized the race, athletes, the media, and I think it's great. And he gave us 20 minutes of high quality content.
Do you think this hurts his future special consideration picks?
It sounds like it sounds like he's.
I'm not sure he's going to try.
I don't think he's going to try. I think it sounds like he's at peace. It sounds like he is. I think there was a call to. I mean, I don't know if it was an explicit call to action, but it sounded at the end that he was saying something similar to what Jim said after the whole Whistler thing, where he's like, where are we racing next year? I think Ben is actively looking for this like elites only or elite prioritized North American race to do that's not Western.
So he's taking his name out of the lottery.
It sounds like it.
Sounds like it?
No way.
Yeah.
No way. I'd have to see that to believe it.
Well, I will say that I got to meet Ben at Lavaredo and chat, and he's a determined dude. I give him, like, it's so cool to see what he's done at UTMB and the fact he's going back. So yeah, I'm psyched for him.
Next topic here. This came from Melanson, which, if you're a hardcore ultra running, trail running fan, this is a fantastic European-based newsletter that appears in my inbox like once every week. It's fantastic. They do these written interviews with athletes, operators, influencers, race directors, etc. In an edition 2 weeks ago, they had Ruth Croft on, and they asked Ruth to comment on the shared start debate that we have talked about on this podcast ad nauseum. Here's her quote. "The atmosphere would be different and it would change the race experience for women, and not in a good way. If the women started earlier, we would find ourselves alone in the night until Cormier." So she's talking about UTMB. "The argument is that everyone would finish at the same time, but when you see the number of spectators still present for Courtney when she finished 10th, I much prefer the current format," end quote. Let's start with you, Alyssa. What are your thoughts on this idea?
Yeah, this has come up quite a bit, and I know that they're changing it in the shorter trails, which I think is awesome because I think positioning matters a lot at the start. I I don't really want it to change. I like that it all goes out together. And I think that, yeah, it's interesting because I've heard like, oh, it helps kind of the front women hide a bit more because you don't necessarily, when you see someone, it could be a man, it could be a woman. So it allows a bit more tactical game in some ways for the front pack of the women. I think UTMB honestly is wide enough at the start that it has never hindered me from being where I want to be. I have heard that it has hindered other people. They're like, UTMB is not for me because I'm just getting pushed around. But I think for the most part, it's just really wide. Like it's not a narrow race for a lot of it. So it doesn't really, to me, impact like, oh, I'm getting shoved around and like everyone sprints. So we're not worried about sprinting. We're already all doing it. But you're not sprinting for, say, like, oh, I'm going to get stuck in a conga line because it's pretty wide. Yeah.
I've always wondered if the pack dynamics would change with like a women's only start. Because like the men always seem like they form a pack at the front and the women get stronger. And I don't really know if that's a cause of everyone starting together or just who is who in the race.
So here's actually another point that I have spent a lot of time thinking about, actually is kind of impacting my racing, is that for years, women do not race in packs. We do not race next to each other. We don't have that at all because, let's be honest, for a lot of years and a lot of races, there are not enough women who are kind of pulling off of each other for that to happen.
Right.
That being said, UTMB, there is enough depth. There are a few races where we see Western states, there's like small packs that form, but that is a very, very different style of racing that, quite honestly, like women have not, I think, had or done. So what I find actually incredibly intimidating about UTMB is the fact that I have a bad 5 minutes and 8 women pass me. And they're not really working together, but the depth of the field is very different than, say, you have a bad 10 minutes at hurt. Like, it's okay. You could have given up 10 minutes, but there's not just that concentration of talent and like ability in smaller races or less competitive races. And so I think, actually, I saw this at Ultra Trail Cape Town. There was a pack of like, so 2 went off the front and then like 7 of us were together for the first, like, well, I had a rough start, partially because I got, I think, psyched out over being in such a big pack. But it was definitely different tactics than I've seen before in women's racing. So I think that is going to be a huge shift. I do wonder if you did separate the starts, I think it would happen a lot faster than it naturally will now. But it is very interesting. And I just wonder if it's like a difference of men and women, like nature of how we compete or like form groups. I don't know. It's very different.
Yeah. Now it's just going to turn into this whole like UTMB social experiment just to see what happens.
Right.
Ruth said in that interview that if you change and had separate starts, the women would be all alone until Courmayeur. What does she mean by that? Like, does she mean that there like wouldn't be any fans out there until Courmayeur, or like that you would just be out there alone on the course until Courmayeur? Because isn't that what the men do? I'm just a little confused by what she meant by that.
And I could be wrong. I interpreted that as, let's just say that they started 3 or 4 hours earlier than the men, or I don't know exactly what the official proposal is, and someone should just shoot us a DM and correct me. But let's just say it's a couple hours before the start of the men's race. I read that as her saying that is when the men's field catches up to us. And then this whole benefit of separate starts is further undermined because then there's this sort of like deflating feeling happening, especially for the front runners, where this other race is passing you and you're losing a sense of momentum and purpose out there. And the swallowing inevitably happens. It just happens later in the race.
But shouldn't it not happen though by the difference in the start times? Like, isn't it like that? Isn't that the whole point of separating the starts? Like,
I
don't
think
know, like,
so.
But
I just
2
watched,
hours, they'd probably catch up at Courmayeur. Yeah.
that's not enough time because there's I just watched this road mile in Honolulu that happened
Nice.
like right at the end of
It's like
end of
December
December,
8th.
beginning of January. Yeah. The women start, and they change it every year. The women start a certain number of seconds before the men. And it's always based off of, I think, the previous year's results. And the women's field is paced, and the men's is not, because they start 30 seconds behind the women's field. And I think last year Nikki Hiltz won it, so then they shortened it by 1 second this year to try and bridge the gap, but then Sinclair Johnson ended up destroying everyone. But it was really cool, and I've come to really love that format of the year-to-year slight changing start times based off the previous year's results to try and give equal chance to the finisher. And I know it's harder with trail, but I thought that was a cool idea.
Go ahead. Good.
Go, Finn. Now you can go.
Okay. I was just going to say, I've informally polled a number of elite female runners on sort of both sides of this debate. And it does seem like a lot of the people who are in favor of Ruth's perspective happen to be in that upper high echelon. And then a lot of the people that are racing for that, for example, 3 to 10 spot, they will say generally that they're against it. And for them, this idea that the women's race gets swallowed in tactical racing breaks down, that seems to be present for them. Although I do find it fascinating, Alyssa, that you're saying like there's actually different psychologies altogether between the male and female approach to racing here, and you wouldn't necessarily anticipate pack mentality even if there was a separate start.
I would be curious if it forced it.
Yep. This is why I want to see it.
Yeah, it would be pretty interesting. I will say though that it would be very interesting dynamic to have the men chasing, because I listen to what's behind me and I go, that's a man or a woman. We're being very binary in this, and I can tell by the breathing, footsteps, etc. generally like, who is that? And to be out in front and then for the second half of the race, just be listening, like, is that my competitor or is it not? That would add a layer of interest, we'll say, of like whether that's good or bad. I don't know. I could see it adding some stress. We'll say that. I mean, I guess you're doing that anyway, but it feels more extreme if you separate them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I like, in my head at least, I like the idea of how the live streams would play out.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Has this been discussed in the PTRA?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually don't remember.
Early, like how early would they start?
I don't remember. I think it was like maybe I don't remember. Maybe 2 hours. I think that's kind of like what we were saying, but I don't. Yeah, I can't confirm that. I don't remember what it is.
Like, is 2 hours just like, is 2 hours not enough to really change?
So here's the other question, which I think is this is a question I have. If you say cut off, like, where's the cutoff for elite women who are starting, or do you start all the women's field early? And what sucks is that if you just miss the edge of the elite women's field and then have an incredible race, but it doesn't count, and you're doing it off of UTMB index, which can be accurate, it cannot, like, people can surprise or just not have gotten scored. Like, you could hinder some people who could have really good results if you separate them.
Yeah,
this happened at the Arizona Monster 300 this year.
Yes, it did. Yes, I forgot about that.
Oh, because they started that race in waves.
They started in waves, and I think this was a guy actually, a guy who started in the second or the third wave, finished I think, third overall, but he couldn't collect his podium award.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he got
finished third overall by time.
Mm-hmm. But it was different start time, so it's always the question of like, did you gain an advantage by a different start time? You know, it's like if a woman starts at 4 p.m. versus 6 p.m., you know, like, yeah. See, these are like all the things that I just think are really tricky to manage.
Yeah, for like a 20-plus hour race.
Yeah.
Like for a mile, it's a lot easier to play with because it's like 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, next topic here. World Trail Majors loses Swiss Canyon and Grand Raid Pyrenees. And I wrote down, now what, question mark. I have to read this official, actually a little bit more preference. So Swiss Canyon and Grand Raid were two of the sort of pillar races on the circuit. I think some people wondered, like, does this raise existential questions about the series? There were debates that I saw across social about like what actually is the meaning of this collection of races, events. And yeah, this was the quote that came out on X from World Trail Majors announcing this, by the way, was, in my opinion, wild. So they say, quote, each stop reflects what matters most in trail running: the land, the culture, and the communities that give every race its character. As we step into this next chapter, we want to acknowledge that Swiss Canyon Trail and Grand Raid Pyrenees will not be a part of the World Trail Majors, end quote. So they're basically saying that those two races do not reflect what matters most in trail running. That is, I mean, the undertones there. That's a burn.
Wow, that's a Twitter-sized burn right there. Huh.
That's a little rough.
Yeah. So you wrote, it says, now what? I guess my question is, like, prior to the now what, like what was it ever supposed to be? Like, what was or is World Trail Majors? Like, what is it supposed to be?
I mean, so it was actually interesting. Ultra Trail Cape Town is the last stop on the World Trail Majors. So I saw, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on Sumaya. Well, I'm saying it wrong. Sumaya Buddha.
Oh, Sumaya Buddha, yeah.
Sumaya, thank you. She won the whole World Trail Majors, and then Caleb won, and then her sister won the short, or came third. And so they had this little presentation, and it was like 12,000 euros to win it. So it's not an inconsequential amount of money to win. But what's interesting is if you win 2 races, then it comes down to your ITRA points. Whoever's higher then wins overall. But what my impression of it was when it was created last year was that it was another series that allowed for prize money to be given to the top athletes for doing well at this series, that wasn't just a UTMB World Series, because there wasn't really another collective of races that were kind of working together to crown someone the best of this series. I honestly, this year, couldn't have told you what the prize money was for World Trail Majors, and have not really seen the races themselves. I mean, Madeira is a huge race. Cape Town's a big race. You know, they're big races, and they actually hold weight individually on contracts, but winning the World Trail Majors has not come up, I think, from what I've seen, as like added to be something that companies are like necessarily rewarding. It is great that they have the prize money. Like, that's incredible that someone is taking home, 12,000, there's first, second, and third. I think it all points, I'll say this and then shut up. I think it all points to this craving that we seem to have to standardize something, and we can't decide on what that is. And we keep seeing it, and it's like, what do we give weight to? World champs, UTMB, World Trail Series majors, all of these things Hardrock, and we go, well, are we going to do that? Are we going to standardize things, or are we going to let things kind of be the way they are? And I think the more money comes into the sport, the more, or do we have a standardization of 200s? We can't even, So I just think the trail world is like, we want something, but we don't know what.
I want to come back to the standardization in just a second, just to add a bit more what I think is interesting history. So timing of the birth of this series, it happened in the midst of the wake of that whole Gary Robbins UTMB Whistler saga, where I feel like a lot of international race directors saw this as a point of no return, where maybe in their mind there was just some like runaway power happening with UTMB as a whole, and they wanted to put a check and balance on that, and there could be this other equally compelling international series that could be there representing a different worldview. A lot of the race directors on this current circuit were a part of that Ultra Trail World Tour that existed before I think the Palettis broke free and took a lot of IP and built this, UTMB World Series. And so, there's a lot of race directors from that cohort, the original World Tour, that are a part of this. And I'm sure a lot of them are thinking like, that was a cool model. People liked that. Athletes liked it. Similar to like the World Marathon Majors. I don't know. There was just like, why don't fix it if it's not broken.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the World Trail Majors gets created because it's supposed to be a kind of a competitor to the UTMB World Series. Elite athletes come and choose these races, and if you run two good ones, you could win a bunch of money at the end of the year. Did the announcement of these races joining the World Trail Majors increase the competitiveness of any of these races? I don't like looking at it from the just like the standpoint of these individual races. It's like Madeira is world class every year. Did adding it to the World Trail Majors make it any better? I feel like and like I'm sure this is a product of it just being new, but like $12,000 at the end of that's not enough money to sway people from UTMB's World Series.
If you combine that though, like Madeira is on a bonus structure.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of like
it's just nice. The bonus.
I think one of the winners in this series is the GPT 100 down in Australia, because at the end of the year after Worlds, Caleb Olson, who already had a win on the series circuit at Trans-Gran Canaria, had a decision to make. Where do I go to get another win, to get that second win and to get a decent payout? And GPT was there. So. And then they got they got a ton of marketing from him being down there and showcasing how cool that course is. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, Caleb was there. He put on a performance. I got to see what it's all about down there in Southwest Australia. Like, this is cool. I might go in future years.
Yeah, they seem to be like the one race that actually won pretty big by being part of the World Trail Majors.
Yeah.
Do we know why the Ultra Trail World Tour stopped?
I believe it was because it was kind of like we're turning into the UTMB World Tour. Hey, like Ultra Trail Mount Fuji, do you want to become like a UTMB race? You have to do it this way. And I think a lot of these races said, no, we can do it on our own.
Yeah, it seemed like that tour was being molded in almost exclusively in the vision of what the Palettis wanted for the sport. And I think there was probably some pushback, blowback, and things broke down.
You know what my favorite part of the old Ultra Trail World Tour was the it was like 8 or 10 spots that they just got at their picking for Western states.
Yeah.
There was like a gazillion people, and it was basically supposed to be like their international picks. like pretty much anyone who was really good in Europe that wanted to run Western states would just get an Ultra Trail World Tour spot.
It was so
didn't
much
even
better.
know that.
I'm so glad you brought this
I
up,
kind of
Brett,
love
because
that.
that was a great model. And then we got to keep the Golden Ticket series domestic.
Yeah. Oh, what if they changed the Golden Ticket series where it's like the Golden Ticket races in Europe, an American can't get a Golden Ticket there? Like they're for international, like non-Americans only.
Now that is an environmental move as well.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Lake Sonoma over here is like, yes. Dude,
Bandera, we're like, we're back, baby.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, UTMB just announced that, I'm going to butcher this. If you're in the lottery for next year's World Series races, I believe you have a 25 to 30% higher chance of being picked if you indicate on your application that you're getting there in a very specific environmentally sustainable way, like the Jasmine Paris way of taking a train all the way from Edinburgh, Scotland, down to Sham.
Dakota Jones, ride your bike.
Yeah.
He's going to swim there. I know it.
Yeah. Row my boat.
Interesting.
Does that like pretty much only apply then to like Europeans? Because like, can I sign up for UTMB this way? And like, I don't know.
I need to actually, this right before we recorded, it popped up on my Instagram and I didn't get to read the full press release or the details. I would be curious to know how you could get there from anywhere but mainland Europe and qualify.
Yeah, we'll have to. I'm sure someone will DM you the exact literature for it.
I will say though, I mean, I think that is part of it is racing where you are is the encouragement to do that. So I could see that being true of like, yeah, we want to encourage and support people who are localer to the race versus people who are flying. I mean, I want to say, gosh, like someone else does it where they like incentivize racing close to home. It's the World Trail Major. I don't think so. Or I'm sorry, World Majors. I want to say maybe they give a few spots or they like try to encourage people. That's probably completely wrong.
We won't quote you on that, but yeah I like the idea of it.
I do think there's other races that are like, we want to reward locals racing this versus flying across the world.
One last question here. So to me, the reason to bring this news up about the two races departing the series wasn't because I think that's a big deal. I really don't think it's that big of a deal, but I do think it's it presents an excuse to reflect on how impactful the series has been on the culture so far. And I do think there is widespread agreement that there are improvements that could be made to make it more compelling for fans to tune in, athletes to race, etc. Do you guys have any ideas off the top of your head about what you would do to, like, if you could pick one idea to take and run with to improve this series for 2027, what would you pitch to the marketing team there?
$1 million to the winner of the finale, like at the whatever your points are at the end of the two races. Be very transparent with how the point system works and like the algorithm that builds it up, because I'm sure like someone like Aid Station Fireball could go and look at all of the World Trail Majors races and be like, you need to do this one, and that will guarantee you the highest point total, because those are the two races where you can break the algorithm the most. Like the ITRA scoring algorithm. Oh yeah.
It's actually just like first place is 1,500, second place is something. Like it's exactly the same points per position. So it's all about positioning. But then what's interesting is that it's very likely like an athlete can win two of those races.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to ITRA points. So actually the faster you go, the better those points will be. But it's actually just placement that gets like you the overall, or like gets you those 3,000 points.
So
you could have like
in the event of a tie that two athletes win two races, which is probably what would most likely happen.
Because that's what happened this year, is that Sugimaya, so sorry, won 2 races, and I can't remember. Someone else also won 2 races, but her ITRA points were higher, and she actually had to push pretty hard at Cape Town as well to make sure like they stayed high. Yeah.
See, that's kind of cool. And if like if we had like Sugimaya needs to basically run this time and win at Ultra Trail Cape Town, because we'd know like this time will get you this many points. Like she needs this, and then she gets $1 million. Dude, I'm tuning into that. So I guess that's my pitch is throw money at the problem.
Solid. My pitch also throws money, but in a different way. So I have been wanting a series out, and actually, Alyssa, we talked about this on a previous episode.
You want it so much.
What I want to see happen is the Live Golf strategy, but for Ultra Trail, and WTM can do it. I want them to target 2 high-profile female athletes, 2 high-profile male athletes, and buy them off.
Bribe them with Saudi oil money.
Bribe exactly. Bribe them. Katie Scheid, how much do you need to not race UTMB, the World Series next year? How much do you need to not be there, to not be at Hardrock? We get you exclusively on this series for all of 2027. Tom Evans, Ben Demon, disaffected Ben Demon, Hardrock. You are lamenting all the issues there. We'll pay $150 for 2027 to race exclusively on World Trail Majors. Own that attention, and then the icing on the cake is matchup culture. So you buy 2 athletes, and they have to face off at 3 World Trail Majors events across 27, beginning in February, and you just build all of your content marketing around matchup culture.
You're nearly describing Grand Slam track. And I don't think that was a bad idea. They just wrote some checks that they couldn't. Or cash.
Single Track is not requesting $250,000 to cover it.
I mean, maybe you should though.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then you can just bank on them filing for bankruptcy, and then you getting like a little bit of it at least.
So this brings up a very interesting. I feel like, again, we're always like, 10 years behind cycling, maybe 5 behind triathlon.
Yeah.
T100 right. And Ironman.
Yeah, because when did that split happen? Like
I want to say only ago? Like, I think it's
less than that.
I think it's less than that.
Okay.
But that has like, people do race both, and there's a lot of money in doing well. But that definitely, I think, has split some of the triathlon world off of just Ironman.
Yeah. And that was mostly just like a money thing. It was like a professional racing league with shorter distances and more cash.
Exactly.
To win.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So we figured it out. We solved World Trail Majors.
The big hole in my argument, now that I'm thinking about it, is if I'm picking 2 guys and 2 girls to show off on this circuit in 27, there are going to be winners and losers. There's going to be probably 3 races that get the athletes, and then 7 races that don't. And they're going to be like, why am I even here if I'm not getting that? So I don't know how we solve that.
And I think we saw races that were already quite prominent just become a little bit more prominent, but it didn't, unfortunately, I think, quite translate to other races quite as well.
Yeah, it didn't like prop up, like Madeira didn't prop up like the 4 smallest races in World Trail Majors or something like that.
Yeah.
And like, is World Trail Majors at fault of that, or is it just like a year 1 growing pains sort of thing, where it just like needs a little bit of time?
Here's the other part of it, is that at the end of the day, you also have to look at what races are on bonus structures for athletes. And so if you, like, the possible chance of winning €12,000, I mean, on a good contract, that is a very small amount compared to winning a big race. So again, it's like if I had the choice to race a race that already has a bonus on my contract and another race that doesn't, maybe I'll hedge that bet if I do both of them, but I'm going to probably pick the two. If we're just talking finance, we're not talking about like the feelings, how much we love this racing. I'm going to pick the two ones that are prominent and on my contract versus the two that, yes, I could win them, but it's not probably helping my case with the company that I'm running for to get re-signed, because they have the races on your bonus structure because they want you to run those races. And so I think that it's like, honestly, my solution is World Trail Majors to go to each brand and be like, yo, can we get on the bonus structure? Like, can we make this happen? Of course, I don't think that's possible, but like, it's getting the brands to also buy into World Trail Majors as the brands have bought into the UTMB series.
Yeah. World Trail Majors doesn't have like a title footwear sponsor, do they? Because that would be kind of an interesting way where it's like if World Trail Majors was sponsored by some brand and then it was like now those athletes are encouraged to come race at World Trail Majors. Like that could be like kind of almost like Finn's idea of like how much money does it take to get these athletes to go race? Where it's like, well, maybe if it was, if like On sponsors World Trail Majors, okay, you guys are all going to be sprinkled in at these races.
AGC, this is your time, baby.
There it is.
You're stepping up. Yep.
One more.
All gear conditions. Yeah.
I am noticing at least two versions of the sport happening concurrently and in a way where neither of the two versions of the sport even recognize each other. And that is sort of this influencer vein in the actual sort of professional scene. And what if the World Trail Majors just forgets about like the highest level competition and they invest in the trail running equivalent of like the influencer Olympics, where every single race is just stockpiled with influencers that are like decently competitive, but not really that talented, but they're going to tell a great story. And as long as it's a relatively level playing field, it's compelling TV.
You know what movie you just brought me straight to, Finn? Brink. You got the Soul Skaters, and then you got UTMB. And you basically just invited Team Pup and Suds to come be the relevant people at your race.
Honestly, though, I mean, like, gosh, Madeira, Cape Town, like Fuji, they're stunning. So, like, the content would be beautiful.
Yeah, those races have soul.
When you woke up this morning, did you say to yourself, today I'm going to talk, or today I'm going to skate?
See, exactly. Gosh. I hope these World Trail Majors guys are listening and have seen Brink.
Dude, they should. That will solve all their problems.
That's one of the greatest movies of all time.
It's so good. The Disney movies were great.
Yeah.
Like when they, yeah. Oh my God. Okay, in the interest
Johnny
of time. Johnny Tsunami.
Yeah. Dude,
yeah.
Another banger. Like kind of same idea.
Same idea. Yeah.
Okay, in the interest of time, we got to shelve a couple of these. I think we should go to the best thing we found on the internet this week. And Brett, you always come through here.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, it's another like running tech sensor that everybody needs, but at the same time, nobody needs. But
and Killian knows about it.
No. He does not follow them on Instagram. That's why I wanted to talk about it. The only people that followed this page at the time of when I last checked was me, Seth Ruling, Woody Kincaid.
Wow.
And that is this wearable called, I don't know if I'm botching him, Corey, the first needle-free continuous blood lactate monitor. So it looks kind of like an oversized Whoop. And it's just a wrist strap, and they say you wear it pretty snug, but it comes with, you insert this like chip sort of thing, and they say it is good. That chip is good for 15 days of continuous blood lactate monitoring before you have to chuck it and like put in a new one, because I guess whatever it's doing is not forever. But they claim that you basically will get instant blood lactate reading, like on your phone at all times. So like, you know, on the track, you know, go prick your finger. Like on a treadmill, go prick your finger. It's like not that inconvenient, but like midway up a mountain, like when I'm at the top of Pete's Punisher here in Ashland, Oregon, I do not want to bring my little blood lactate kit with me and like prick my finger and see what my levels are. But now, midway up the trail, I can see where it is, because I've always wondered like what my blow up gradient is, because it always seems like once I get over a certain gradient, my legs just like go absolutely to shit, and then like I'm just trashed for the rest of the run. Like this could help me with that. And on their website right now, they are actually opening up early access to elite athletes if you apply.
You said instantaneous results?
That's what they say. I mean, I have no idea if this thing's actually
this
good
sounds
or not.
like this sounds like Theranos for trails.
What is that?
No needles. I know. That's another tangent. Elizabeth Holmes. Does that ring a bell?
No.
Ooh, look that one up.
Okay. That's what I got on the internet, and
that's fantastic.
I would love to see if this works, because that would answer a lot of mysterious questions I have about my own training on the trails.
Incredible.
I know like a lot of my paces and zones and stuff on the roads and like flat, but I never really know if I'm converting it to trail correctly, other than just being like, well, my heart rate matched. Or like from a muscular standpoint, what if they're like totally different?
Especially because we know heart rate is not the most accurate for us as trail athletes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I don't know. I might super interesting.
I might reach out.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You should give them that term blow up gradient. That's good marketing language.
Yeah. Find out your blow up gradient. Eliminate your blow up gradient.
But I could totally see that. I mean, there's so much conversation about how Ruth, and I think Tom maybe to a lesser extent, used so much data to win UTMB. Like, holy crap, if you had that.
Well, especially if it's live. Like when I'm racing UTMB, I could know when I'm going up Grand Col Ferret, do not go over 2.8 millimoles, because every minute you spend over that, and I'm just throwing that number out there, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, every minute you spend over that is going to be like 10 minutes lost later. So like, do not get over that level. It could make racing just totally obsolete. Like I think I said this on a previous long run archives, where it's like everyone just stops at a point and then read your blood lactate level. And whoever's got the lowest at the point, they just win. You don't even have to run the rest of the race.
Amazing.
Yep.
Okay, I have two things. One is practical and one's impractical. The impractical run is I saw the Dillism where he's at Diagonal Defoe DNFing and gets abducted by aliens, and I absolutely died. I'm so sorry, Debo, but that was absolutely incredible work. Did you all watch it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That page can do no wrong.
It can do no wrong. That was one of the. That was even like his mouth moving of just like, I gotta come. Like, it's so good.
My favorite line is when he's on the cot and he's calling. He's like, Harmony, it's Debo. Or was it
It's your husband Debo. Yeah,
it's your husband Debo.
Thank you. Thank you everyone involved in that. Thank you, Debo, for being a good sport, because I know you're being a good sport about it, but it truly, I said it to Kelly today. It was, my friend Nick said, I was like, this just made my day. So that was one of the best things. On a more serious note,
I get roasted every other one, so we have license to say whatever.
Amazing. I've yet to get roasted, so that's how I'll know. That's the next step.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting one that just came up, because Goo is doing a giveaway with them, and I think this could be super helpful, is called H-Drop, where it measures hydration. It's basically like sweat testing. Again, it's the same, it sounds very similar, but it's sweat testing you don't have to do in the lab. I think it's just an arm strap, and it helps to give you more specific sodium concentration levels, etc. Which,
yeah, that sounds super nifty. I've always wanted to play with one of those, because that's another one of those metrics that I'm just guessing.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the precision concentration test, which is amazing. But if you don't live in a city that they do them, it can be really hard to get access. They're not that cheap. But I think that's such incredibly useful information because I think people get it so wrong. Because
it's
you
always
can't
changing for you too.
So the concentration actually does not change. That's essentially something you're born with. It's the sweat rate that changes.
Okay.
So your milligrams of sodium per liter is consistent. It could be 400, it could be 2,000. It can be that is you. That's your DNA. But it's how much the amount that you need, how many liters you need, that's what changes so drastically. But a lot of people, it's to get that concentration number, you can only do a test to get that. I mean, you can like approximate it, but I think it's like getting the right pair of shoes, I feel like.
I like that analogy. Yeah.
And I have zero expertise in this area, but I've heard it talked about among athletes and some nutritionists. Apparently, there's an academic war out there right now as to whether sodium sweat concentration changes based on training conditions, fitness status. Like everyone agrees that sweat rate changes, but apparently there's like a huge war around sweat sodium concentration. And again, I'm just relaying this. I have no background here.
No, I will look into that more because I'd kind of always been told, and most of what I've read is like, that's your number. You're born with it. But interesting. I'll look into that more. Thank you.
Yeah, I wonder how much like of this counter argument is like published in studies, or if it's just like brands being like, we've been testing this out and we don't want to tell you yet.
So I think the key part of that is brands.
Yeah.
Like who is backing what information?
I feel like Morton doesn't believe in salt. Well, because there is
Precision does. That's they're big salt people.
Yeah. Which is interesting that Precision is a believer in salt when they actually don't have sodium in their gels, because then you can like exactify your sodium in your liquid. Well, because there was that interview from Tom maybe 2 years ago where he was talking about how like he basically doesn't take salt during races.
Because some people, like Riley Brady, has a concentration of, I heard in a podcast, like 400, which essentially you could get like from a gel or two. It's very, very
just by
low.
Touching an aid station.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
you
touching your arm and like licking. Yeah, you're like pickle. All right, we're good. Or like the amount of salt other people's hands gets in the M&M.
You give a high
container.
five and then lick your hand.
And then you're good.
Okay. Touching the M&Ms. That's both of those examples for getting salt were really gross.
Yeah.
H drop. Yeah, I've heard. So I'm familiar with one other sensor in this space, and it's called NICS biosensors. And I'd be curious to know from the audience and anyone that's tested it, like have people out there, have they tested both NICS and H drop? Are they pretty much the same results? Is one tech better?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If either of the brands want conversational pace to do a full comparison review, would be happy to sweat.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
That would be fun. I would do that.
Also, Calibre, aka Caliber. If you're happen to be listening, we would still love to test your stuff.
Yeah. That was my internet find from last week. It was basically at-home VO2 max testing.
Okay. I've got two here as well. Oh, yeah. What is yours,
I was going to say, what's yours?
Oh, well, Brett has legendary VO2 apparently, but mine, I've got two here.
Oh, I just meant your, okay, yeah, not your VO2 max.
Oh, I'm not telling you.
Fins is 2. He's like, it's 2.
No, what's your resting heart rate? That's what we all really want to know.
Mine's pretty bad.
What is it right now? What is bad?
Like last night I slept with my watch and it said I only got down to like 44.
Okay. That's a good night for me, I think.
Isn't your max heart rate like 150? That's actually getting to be a pretty tight window.
It's a lot of leeway.
Okay, but anyways, my two, I'm going to lead with this one. This came from a listener, by the way. So we put out a message earlier today. If there's something to talk about, drop it here, and we might discuss it. This person wishes to be named, not named, I should say.
Don't mess that up.
I'm not gonna name them. I'm not gonna dox them. But obviously Barkley is happening sometime later this year, and I didn't realize that the winner of the Barkley Fall Classic, which takes place every, I think, September or October, the winner of that race gets auto entry if they want into the next year's Barkley. And the winner of this past Fall Classic was Mathieu Blanchard.
Yeah.
And the person said, look, this should be on your radar. Obviously no one knows who was on the Barkley start line until lap 2 or 3 when Keith starts revealing his nicknames. But if Mathieu Blanchard is on the start line of Barkley this year, at least on the men's side, will he be the best athlete to have ever lined up there? Like the best natural athlete?
Yeah, I mean, cue the beautiful Frenchman tweets.
Yeah.
And
that's exciting.
He's done some pretty hardcore races too.
Oh yeah. Did he do the like? Was it Mathieu who did that crazy cold weather 300 miler last year? Oh yeah, so he's gone off the deep end. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's fun. Then still had a good Hardrock though. It's nice blend of things. Yeah, I think that's definitely a good one to look out for.
Gave Killian a run for his money a couple years ago at UTMB. Finished second, ran under 20 hours. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Ran a 2:21 marathon.
He's fast.
He's fast.
Oh my, that's not fair.
He's good at everything.
Yeah. So that was my first one. And again, we never know. So we'll find out at some point this year if he's there. My second one, we sometimes talk about training hubs on this podcast in places that deserve to be training hubs or could be. I'm gonna stress could be here because I'm not gonna say that this is gonna be.
We're mostly just looking at geography here.
Guilty as charged with the Google Maps viewing. But every June I do the drive from Salt Lake City to Olympic Valley, California, across Highway 80. And I always wonder, is there anything out there on either side of me on the highway? And you go through a couple of these towns, Lovelock, Elko, Battle Mountain, and basically it's just gas stations, a little bit of industry, casinos. There's not much.
Brothels.
Yeah.
I was gonna say a few questionable bars that are probably not just bars.
Yeah, exactly. And is anything else out there? And I actually asked ChatGPT. I prompted ChatGPT with this question, here's a criteria of places of what this hypothetical trail running hub or town needs to have for me to consider going there. And it has to have this bit from Flag, this bit from Boulder, this bit from Salt Lake City. I'm looking for those types of boxes to check. Are there any places in any of these states that check at least some of these boxes and you could make a credible argument that it would be an interesting place to live and train? And it sent back a lot of gibberish. But one of the places that it listed was Spring Creek, Nevada.
Okay, that was a question that I wrote as a follow-up is this a place, are you talking about hunkering down and living here and making this your full-time residence for training? Or I'm going to pop over to Spring Creek, Nevada for a little training camp?
You need to be able to have a relatively modern lifestyle there. So you need services, you need decent housing, decent food. Yeah. you're not homesteading.
Okay. Well, lucky for you. I did a little bit of Google searching on Spring Creek.
Because I accidentally divulged my strap. Yeah, go ahead.
Number of grocery stores. 1. They did have a gym. So I was thinking about strength training. It looks like it's about the size of someone's living room, but it's a gym nonetheless. 1 coffee shop.
That's all you need.
Okay.
And the only restaurant was a golf course, attached to the pro shop type thing. So like you are cooking all your food unless you go to Elko. And that was going to be my counter. I think I'd actually live, if I was going to be in this area, I'd be in Elko instead of Spring Creek.
You know who's in Elko is Cole Campbell, who's an Adidas Teryx athlete, and he's pretty legit. Yeah, he's based in Elko. But okay, so a couple interesting facts here. This town is like, in terms of existence, it's only existed since the mid 1970s. It was developed by a guy named C.V. Wood, who was the chief developer of Disneyland, which is wild.
That's super interesting.
The median household income here, and there's about 14,000 residents, $110,000 a year. I think there's some sort of mining industry or something.
Did you talk about why Spring Creek is significant? Or have we left everyone hanging right now as to why you like this town?
Okay. Sits at the base of the Ruby Mountains. If you've been to the Ruby Mountains, ask Gelfie. Gelfie's been out there. The Ruby Mountains are incredible. The town itself sits at 5,500 feet elevation. Perfect. So high enough to stimulate adaptation, low enough to support consistent high volume training. You can touch high altitude if you want. You can get up to 10,000 feet. This town is literally right at the base. So it's like out your door, hit trails. There's a canyon there, Lamoille Canyon, that's got pretty sustained climbs and descents for these longer ones like Hardrock and UTMB. I think from like a pro mindset, no scene pressure. Like you'd be N of one there. There wouldn't be many trail runners, if any at all. Maybe it's you and Cole. No social comparison. You just kind of like train, eat, sleep, repeat with a coffee shop and a gym.
Yeah, see, I don't know if I could live there for that reason.
So I do have a lot of bones to pick with the architecture of like the housing there. Like it's not inspiring, but the area around it is stunning.
Yeah, the Ruby Mountains, sick. And they look pretty rugged too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking I would maybe go to that area for like an extended like mega camp sort of thing, as opposed to like buying up real estate. The one nice thing, Nevada real estate with no state income tax.
I just read that.
That's cool. So maybe that could be a nice investment.
I've driven through Battle Mountain. Interesting.
Oh yeah. What a town name.
Oh, there's some good ones. Yeah, Battle Mountain. Yeah, some obvious issues. I believe you're about 3 hours from an international airport, Salt Lake City. So if you're looking to go to other places to train or race, that is frustrating. But
wait, so you're only 3 hours from here? From there?
3 hours. Yeah.
Oh, so you should go get down there and scope it out.
Let's make a vlog. Let's go make a vlog about our.
Well, you're a lot closer than I am.
Yeah.
Well, I think I probably
fly standby. Meet me in Salt Lake.
Okay.
And we'll go do like a scope of Spring Creek, and apparently also just based on the climate there, it's a year-round training. So obviously you can't get high onto the skyline there, but you can get decent trail running training in year-round.
Okay.
Like in Salt Lake.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I think we're at just about time for this episode. We left a lot on the table. We will return to it in a very soon future episode. For those that are listening, viewing, let us know what you think. Hit us up on Instagram at RunSingleTrack. DM Brett, DM Alyssa. Let us know. Give us ideas for the next episode too. Before we go, final thoughts, Alyssa.
Well, now I really want to go check out Spring Creek. It's super cool. I think it's just exciting how many topics of conversation that we have in the sport. Just the amount that we can talk about, and we didn't even get started. And I feel like we're being nerdy, but we're not being that nerdy. So it's pretty exciting. And the wearables, that's going to be really devastating for data-driven people.
Yeah, can we please have one app? Can we have one app to control them all, please?
People are going to have the watch,
my wearable sleeve,
the watch, the Whoop, the H strip, the lactate.
The
yeah.
Exciting. And the heart rate monitor.
Yeah, exactly.
which you can wear.
So
Yeah, no more tattoo sleeves. It's just going to be
Just
wearables.
tech sleeves.
how about you, Brett?
I'm curious if the next time we record a Long Run Archives episode, if we'll have some like athlete signings, re-signings, switchovers to talk about. I feel like I haven't seen nearly as many like departure posts at the end of like December, early January as in previous years. I don't know if we're just happened to hit one of those years where like a lot of people's
Not that
contracts
many.
went up. But I'm curious. I'm just curious to see where some people move to because it's moving season for that sort of thing.
I saw a couple, and one of them, interestingly, came from the brand. Koros thanked Killian for a great run.
Really?
Yeah. Or no, sorry, Kipchoge. It was Koros and Kipchoge breaking up. Not Killian. Sorry,
because I was going to say
Killian.
they also broke up with Kipchoge. How could
yeah,
they?
sorry,
Okay.
no, it was
Wow.
Freudian
okay.
slip or whatever. Like Kipchoge.
Yeah, and the NN running team is going to have a new title sponsor soon as well. I believe it's what it was.
So.
Yeah, there's been a few that have surprised me, others that have not, but yeah, it's interesting.
Well, thank you both, and talk soon.